Welcome to the Breadbasket, a program which highlights issues affecting the farming community and updates you on products and services in the agriculture sector. I'm your host, Giovanni Rampersad. We focus today on the red palm mite, RPM. This pest has several species. They affect palm plants and have been found in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. The red palm mite is now trying to establish itself in the Caribbean. The pest was discovered in Guyana in 2013. It damages other plants in its path as it moves from one coconut tree to another.
When it was discovered first in Wakenham, right, we had a series of seminars with our Deputy Chief Executive Officer and other personnel, even consultants from out of the country came in because we weren't aware of it. So with those seminars, we started looking for it, or looking for signs of this red palm mite. On my visit here to Clonbrook with one of my colleagues, I found it on the coconut palms. By taking samples in now, we discovered that it was very dominant in this area. So we had to take preemptive action to try to eradicate the problem, but we had to know the scope first. The scope was very vast from, say, Unity in Mahaica straight down to Haslington. But we decided to start our focus right here in Clonbrook at first. So this is one of the first areas that was treated for the red palm mite. The red palm mite is something called a false spider mite because it doesn't spin webs. It's for the size, it's an arachnid. It's very, very minute. You have to look under the microscope to identify it. But by those seminars that were conducted, we found that you could look for other symptoms and signs of this palm mite by looking at the drooping of the leaves. You know, these leaves are erect, but when they start to fall, that's one of the signs. The signs is the change in color from a dark green to a very, very light yellow because it's a sucking insect. It takes all the chlorophyll out of the plants. And also, an easier way to identify it is to look on the underside of the leaves and rub your hands at the bottom. If it indicates if you see a red streak on your finger, then you know you have a problem on a pest. And I think you should consult an extension officer to see if it is present in the area of the field.
For farmers in the coconut industry, an infestation of the red palm mite can prove very costly. I'm in the Clonbrook Bagnam where we're looking at the red palm mite and its effects on the plants. We'll also be speaking to some farmers and an extension officer from NARI.
We really know what was this disease, but we can see the discoloration on the leaf, and the trees, the branches start to bend, and the tree gets weak. If you notice the branches, they're up right now because the tree them treated. But if you notice some of the tree, when they treated, the branches will be hanging down. The production drop at least about 500 to 600. So it's a big reduction with the disease. The palm mites affect the production from the tree. If you notice on the bunches, they don't hold too much nuts. So they affect the tree a lot with the production-wise.
The National Agriculture Research and Extension Institute, NARI, has been providing chemicals to farmers to help them fight off the red palm mites.
Late last year, we would have, the government, through the initiative of Minister Holder, following our visit to the Pomeroon and the meetings with the farmers, would have made available $49 million to assist the coconut farmers in managing the red palm mite. Of course, we were the lead agency. The focus was on ensuring that all farmers, when I say all, everybody, would have had access to the chemical to manage the mite. Also, the training provided on how to apply it and so forth. We would have gone a far way in this exercise, and not only in the Pomeroon, but in all other coconut growing areas.
Chemicals used to get rid of the red palm mite must be handled carefully, so NARI would visit the affected plantations.
Today, we'll be doing an actual demonstration of how we use Inisan. That's a product used to treat the red palm mite in Guyana. Now, the farmer is using an auger to insert a 45-degree angle into the plant, about 6 centimeters into the plant. So the plant can absorb the drug and translocate it to the leaves where the pest is located. Product is using inisan, which is commonly known in these areas as monocotophos. There, he's placing it into the plants at a 45-degree angle so the plant can take it and absorb it. As you can see, we try to locate the holes away from the water, where the water is actually falling, so the plants will not take up the water but the product itself, so it can be translocated to the leaves. Farmers may say that it's not working right away, but you have to understand that the plant will take a little time in the dry season to translocate the drug from there to the top of the tree. In the wet season, it goes a little bit faster, so you will not see any results right away. It will have to take a little time for the active ingredient to work in the plant.
Sometimes getting to farmers can be difficult, and those providing the help are the ones who end up needing the help. At the National Agriculture Research and Extension Institute, NARI, they're doing research and conducting experiments to create natural enemies that would eat the red palmite out of existence.
Currently, I'm working on rearing of one of the few natural enemy of red palmite. The natural enemy that I'm working with is the Amblysia species. We are doing in lab rearing of these natural enemy, where we would do different studies on their feeding habit with respect to the red palmite. And after that, we plan on doing an in-field trial of these natural enemy that we have in the lab, that we reared from the lab. We will release them in the field under controlled condition and see how well they would feed on the palmite, how well they would be able to control the pests. We are hoping that at the end of this study, we would be able to give the farmer a more environmental friendly control for the pests, because the chemicals they don't destroy the pests. They also have some effect on the natural enemy as well as the plant and the environment. So we are trying to get a more environmental friendly control for the pests.
This project is to rear a natural enemy called lacewing that is found in association with red palmite. Okay, the lacewing, why we call it natural enemy? Because it feeds on the pest itself. So what method we use is to try to see if we can rear it internally as a form of mass producing in the future. So basically, for the characteristics of the lacewing, here we have, for example, it is found on the underside of the coconut leaves. Here, I don't know if you can see clearly, there are eggs laid on the leaves. Now these eggs would hatch into, here we have the larva. It's feeding actually on the red palmite. How you know under the leaf have red palmite? When you swipe your fingers like this, and they have an orange substance at the end of it. So that's one way in identifying it as a local person, and you have probably a coconut tree in the yard and you want to know, what is this red palmite? And you swipe your fingers or a piece or so and you realize that it has this orange substance, then you will notice that, well, it's probably red palmite. However, that's the second stage. After they feed, the larva is what do the major damage, or in terms of feeding on the red palmite. Now, after a certain time, it goes into the pupal stage. As you can see, I'm not sure if you get a clear picture there. Good. From the pupal stage, then it becomes the adult. Good. So that is basically the 4 different stages of the lacewing. It's found in the wild on coconut branches, like I said before. But we want to mass produce them. So what we do, we take them from actually the coconut palms where they are found in association with the red palmite. And we try to produce them in the lab see if it can use artificial dyes on a large scale. So we can mass produce that. So these are a few examples of what we've done thus far in terms of mass producing. They're placed in vials and they're fed like every other day, so forth, to maintain their nutrients intake and thus far. Now these are the larvae here. And on the other side here we have the eggs and the adults. The adults is fed on the artificial diet, which as we human beings, we need our amino acids, our vitamins and so forth. So we had to create an artificial diet that will support the nutrient intake for the adults. So as I said before, not the adults feed on the red palmite, but the larvae. So this is basically what is being done at the moment in terms of natural enemies in association with red palmite for mass production purpose.
At the Shade House, the progress of the experiment is being monitored.
This is the experimental plot for the in-field trial of the Amblyopsis natural enemy against the red palmite. What we're basically looking for from this experiment is to evaluate the mortality rate of the RPM, which is a red palmite, see how well the Amblyopsis, how much they feed, and over a period of time if they are able to reduce the RPM population.
Farmers who observe signs of being affected by the red palmite can contact NARI or an extension officer who will investigate and then provide assistance. Farmers are advised not to apply treatment on their own because it can affect their health and damage crops and the environment. This has brought us to the end of this week's Breadbasket. Do join us again next week for another edition. I am Shivani Ramprasad. Do have a safe week ahead. Goodbye.